I want to begin with the words of Tanya Marquez. It is a wonder and mystery that our paths have crossed, that in the immensity of time, in the vastness of space, we coincide here. I am in awe at the ways in which our lives intersect and intertwine, at the beauty we create when we gather. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be open to this offering. I am so glad you are here. Let us worship, let us marvel at the miracle of being here right now and the mystery that has brought us together. Jewish tradition says that the splitting of the Red Sea was the greatest miracle ever performed, or so explains Rabbi Kushner. It was so extraordinary that on that day, even a common servant beheld more than all the miracles beheld by Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel combined. And yet, we have one midrash, a Jewish interpretation of scripture, which invites us into the experience of two Israelites, Reuven and Shimon, who take a different perspective. Apparently, the bottom of the sea, though safe to walk on, was not completely dry, but a little muddy, like a beach at low tide. Reuven stepped into it and curled his lip. What is this muck? Shimon scowled. There's mud all over the place. This is just like the slime pits of Egypt, replied Reuven. What's the difference, complained Shimon. Mud here, mud there, it's all the same. And so it went. The two of them grumbling all the way across the bottom of the sea. And because they never once looked up, they never understood why on the distant shore, everyone else was singing songs of praise. For Reuven and Shimon, the miracle never happened. As I have been immersed in the news this last week and probably this entire month, my heart has been broken about the state of the world and our relationships with one another. And I questioned whether or not I would preach this sermon, change it on the fly, and share with you something else. It might sound trite to come in with a sermon about awe when we are facing divisiveness among us, when people around the world are suffering. And as I sat with these reflections and explored my heart, this is exactly when we need to be reminded of awe and wonder. We need to reconnect with what is life-giving, what gives us hope, so that we can continue engaging with the world. It's easy, at least for me, to become Reuven and Shimon, to look down at my feet in the mud, to trudge along while forgetting to look up and experience the miracles and wonders in our midst. And so I invite us today to take a wider perspective, one which includes the mud and the greater walls of water, to see the people journeying alongside us and explore all that is our lives. Religion can often speak of miracles, signs, and wonders, moments when the divine is unquestionably present and unexplainable. These stand out because they capture our attention. They move our hearts to experiences of awe and wonder. Traditional religious experiences are not the only way we come to know these mysteries. This can also be the sacred ground on which religion and science meet. In one definition, religion is conceived as faith in the worthwhileness of living and the active pursuit of what seems worthwhile, which means science and religion are not opposites. In fact, science becomes part of religion. Both science and religion are the birthplaces of curiosity and the unknown, both of which open the door to experiences of awe. Our first source teaches of where we might find and engage in the sacred, in the mystery and wonder that abounds. This explains why we are captivated by the silence and beauty of falling snow, today perhaps the melting snow, the dancing lights of the aurora borealis, the street musician who is well rehearsed, the moving harmonies and dissonance of a quartet, and the works of scientists who are captivated by the unknown and dedicate their life's work to unfolding them. In many ways, this is part of the magic of childhood, which should continue to live within us. We need awe. We need awe because it shifts us into humility. We spend much of our days needing to have all the information, wanting to be in control. Being in awe reminds us that we are a small part of this unfolding story, this interconnected web of all existence. In the words of Father Richard Rohr, we step into holy unknowability. From this place of unknowability, there is also the birthplace of great potential, which opens the door to hope. We spent 2021 focused on one topic, COVID-19. And yet behind the scenes, moved by these questions of holy unknowability, there are some who have continued to persist to help make the known, or help make known the unknown. Scientists in 2021 have worked in the shadows, last year perhaps more than any other, and their advances remain nonetheless remarkable. Did you know that the World Health Organization approved the first vaccine for malaria, something that had been in the works since 1987? Australian scientists developed a titanium heart, which functions using a circular pump and magnets. And it's even been used, although temporarily, in transplant patients. And don't think you need another degree to do this work, simply a curiosity and a passion. Amateur astronomer Kay Lee discovered a new moon orbiting Jupiter. Just when we feel confident and certain, we learn something new, and it shifts us into awe and humility for this wondrous world. The microcosm of our human bodies is a reflection of the macrocosm of the universe and the 600 billion galaxies which exist. There is great discussion about our microbiome, the microorganisms of a particular environment, including that of our own bodies. It's amazing to think that our bodies are actually outnumbered by the bacteria living within us than our own human cells. That when we take in food, we're nourishing the bacteria living within us, which also has an impact on our hormones, digestive systems, and the neurotransmitters in our brains. It is all interconnected. We are a living, moving community. It's amazing to see these parallels between the universe and our bodies. Some of you may know that I worked as a doula for 10 years, accompanying families through pregnancy, birth, and the early weeks postpartum. And naturally, I studied the placenta. When I worked alongside midwives, they would often show families this organ, which grew to support new life with oxygen, nutrition, and a filtration system. Can you think of another species on this planet that serves this function? trees. And what's amazing is that on one side of the placenta, the blood vessels actually make a tree of life. It's what it looks like on the inside. How incredible that is. Indigenous botanist Robin Wall Kimmerer describes how she brings science and Indigenous ways of knowing together through direct experience and teachings. At the very beginning of the pandemic, as she was giving her last in-person lecture for some time, she lectured about the moss. She invited students into the experience of the moss, much like the Jewish practice of the midrash. We enter into the story from another vantage point. Through this, the students learned that when there are times of drought, the mosses store up their resources to make it through the dry seasons. They are experts at sheltering in place and working with what is available. The mosses are incredibly resourceful, and we have likely passed them so many times without giving them a moment of pause. These tiny rainforests living on rocks and trees live right here in our midst. And as we continue to learn about them, we come to know of a world which we previously knew little about. These teachings open our minds, reminding us of how little we really know. And they also open our hearts to compassion, to humility, and to awe. How do we know we are in awe? I know that I am moved in awe when I am stunned into silence. Perhaps that's a good sign for me as a vocalist, somebody who worked in professional communications, and now studying to be a minister. I have countless examples of moments where I have lived in awe, and I'm sure you do as well. On one particular summer day during a very busy season at work, I left the office and decided to spend my lunch hour singing in one of the base chapels. I love it there because nobody goes there, and so it's empty, and I stand boldly in the center aisle singing. On this particular day, as I sang, listening to the resonance from the high ceilings, watching the midday sun pour through the stained glass windows, a silence came over me. I was drawn deep into the moment. I found the stillness. There, on the red carpet, I was present to all that is and all that will be. I felt the smallness of my own place in the web of beings. In that moment, all I could do was breathe. I went from being a human doing to a human being. With the turmoil of these days, the ongoing pandemic, unrest around the world, systemic and overt racism and oppression visible in ways we cannot ignore, our hearts grow weary. As all of these seasons of our lives seem to drag on, we have become experts in recognizing what is life limiting. And so I ask, what is it today that is life-giving to you? What is it that sustains you? For the author Anne Lamott, when she comes across what is life-giving, she prays her prayer of awe, and it consists only of one word: wow. She says, wow is the praise prayer, the prayer when we're finally speechless. And in her case, as an author, that's saying something. She writes, "When I don't know what else to do, I go outside and I see the sky and the trees and a bird flies by and my mouth drops open again with wonder at the just sheer beauty of creation. And I say, wow." You say it when you see the fjords for the first time at dawn, or when you see the new baby and you say, wow, that is great. Wow is the prayer of wonder. Once you begin to spend time in awe, most easily accessed by the tangible world, when our hearts can be stirred and learn to be present with all that is, we take this awe and use it to connect us to one another. It brings us into relationship. With all that's going on in the world, and because of the work I do in hospital, I am privy to the ways in which we as humans face significant challenges. After every pastoral conversation, I once again recognize my feelings of awe for the human spirit. I am in awe of the courage it takes to ask for help. I am in awe at the resilience it takes for someone to love themselves and others back into being. I am in awe, witnessing communities rally together for what is just. And in this sense of awe, this place of wonder, of holy unknowability, and of great potential, I see what keeps us moving forward. It is what grounds our faith as Unitarian Universalists, as covenantal people. We see the moments when covenant has been broken. We feel the deep injustices and inequalities in our own communities and around the globe. We can feel that what we're doing is not enough. And in those moments of awe and reverence, when someone seeks forgiveness, when someone dares to love themselves and the world so boldly, we become witnesses to change. We see the birthplace of our highest aspirations. Being present in awe strengthens us to take this act of faith. We are people of religion, people of science, people of faith, because we are people of awe. May it continue to inspire our work in the world today and forever going forward. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.